Morning. They're really spending their time with Joe and the strength and conditioning staff, position coaches, and we're really building, the initial foundation of what we hope to really get done during kind of the off-season program, which, as you guys know, from my perspective, is really the teaching and learning phase to set these guys up to have their best chance to compete when the training camp comes around. So, obviously been a really good process throughout the offseason. Big week with the draft coming up this week. Just want to compliment Rob, his, the personnel staff, the coaching staff, the way it's come together. We got a lot of talented people in this building, and just the work both here, offsite at pro days, visits, workouts, the combine. Everybody's put everything they had into this to make this a positive outcome. And guys have really worked really well together, and looking forward to see how, the end of the week plays out.
Coach, what kind of message does it send to have Jefferson here at the start of the season?
Yeah, I spend so much time with Justin, just, and I'm sure he gets tired of seeing my name come up on his cell phone. When he doesn't answer, I text him, and when he doesn't answer my text, I call him. So we got a nice little sequence going. But I get him every now and again, and when I do, he knows how much he means to me. I think his leadership, spoke for itself a year ago. And as he's, continues to ascend, really as the face of our franchise, he continues to understand the weight of that and kind of the weight of the office of, I want him to have an impact. I want him to feel like he's involved with, the things that we decide to do as our team, how we prepare our team. I think he's earned the right to be a part of those conversations, and I enjoy the heck out of having them with him. And, I know everybody was excited to see him here today. And as busy as he is and as many directions as he gets pulled in, for him to make it a priority to be here today and be here this week, to kick things off is massive.
Kevin, what is this phase like with Kyler in terms of him getting onboarded here?
Yeah, so the initial phase is really the guys will throw a little bit on their own, but we're not really, as coaches, we're not allowed to be there until we get to the phase 2 setting. So they'll do some of that, light throwing at the end of a couple of the workouts, just to kind of get going a little bit. But we really, I'm a big believer in the first few days, the first couple days this week for sure. You get the units together. We got our team together this morning for, kind of a welcome and an intro and just laying out some of what we're hoping to accomplish during these 9 weeks. But really it's about kind of the grassroots of the position rooms, coaches being able to establish their rooms. And then it's a big time for Joe and his staff, Tyler and their staff, to really kind of calibrate, each individual guy's performance plan and the things that we want to try to accomplish. Nowadays, these guys come in great shape. They come in, off on the heels of the work they do wherever they call home. Many of them have been here for the majority of the off season, and now it's just a matter of getting to do it in a little bit more of a structured, formal setting. But the first 2 weeks are really lifting. They'll move those guys around a little bit. Some of the change of direction, some of the movement stuff, really preparing them and preparing their bodies for the positional work that'll start in phase 2. And then as we get into it, we get a little bit more of the, offensive and defensive philosophies, the kicking game philosophies with Hat. And then we'll try to get out in front of some of the install so that it doesn't overload guys. We're under such a tight time crunch, on these days, the 4 hours, and want to always make sure we ask a lot of our guys. We have great participation, but I do like trying to make sure I give them what I call those 3.5-day weekends, get them out of here on Thursday at a time where they can, if they want to spend the weekend here and spend time together, great. If they're headed back off to, be with their families or whatever it may be, that's great too. But we try to get our work in and be real purposeful with everything that we do, everything we ask of our players, and know that we're ramping up from phase 1 to phase 2, and then inevitably after, whatever it is, Memorial Day,
we'll be able to get on the grass all together.
Kevin, in terms of the number of players spending part of the offseason, have you seen that tick up over your time here? What do you think's led to that, if so?
I have. I think, I would just tip my cap to all of our resources on the first floor, whether it's Tyler and his group. Inevitably, there's going to be guys working through some things coming out of a season. We've got great doctors here, so a lot of our guys, get some of the best care possible right here in the Twin Cities. I think Joe, one of the things that, I was really, interested to get feedback on after the season was just after a full off-season training camp and season been with those guys in the strength and conditioning program. And Joe, I know surveys get thrown out a lot around different parts of the NFL, but one thing that came back, crystal clear to me was our players are ecstatic about Joe and that staff in there, and I think it's a credit to those guys, how they've been able to kind of make this a team environment in there, but yet players feel like they've got individual programs, ways that I personally have a direct path to getting to where I want to get to. So people have found that very beneficial to maybe it's not the entire time, but making sure that they're not only here present with them enough, but then all of our players are constantly, we're connected with some of the people that train them from afar, trading notes and making sure these guys just want to make sure that they capitalize on the resources we have in this building for sure.
And how often are you talking to Harrison Smith?
It's been a few days, but now that you remind me, I'll probably bug him today. But no, it's something we're still trying to give Harrison as much space as possible, and I think he's earned that. If it's anything at this point, Dave, it's seeing how he's doing, seeing how his family is, seeing how his golf game is, all of those things.
So does that affect your draft thoughts at all in terms of whether he's, what his final decision ends up being? Do you need to know before you guys?
No, I don't think so, Kevin. I think it's something that you kind of look at it from a lens of the most important thing is getting your board stacked with how we see him, and that's a combination of the evaluations from a lot of different people, and we've got a scouting department, a coaching staff that has worked so well together through this process that it's about setting that board, and then obviously you want to have conversations about with each and every selection how that impacts your depth chart, your 53-man roster, but no, it doesn't.
Kevin, what kind of impact do you anticipate Keith Carter having on your offensive floor?
Yeah, Keith is somebody that when the season ended, we went through a real thorough process of talking to quite a few people. Really had to cast a wide net, a deep, talented kind of pool of guys, and I'd kind of really wanted to see Keith's vision for the room. I think it can be a real benefit to have kind of come a year ago and kind of in that assistant role, you really have to kind of allow the lead O-line coach to lead, and he did a great job of that. He was really good with the young guys. He was really good with the development of some of our young guys, whether it's Donovan or Joe or any of those other young guys that we had. But what I really was struck by was Keith's vision for how we play, what it looks like when we snap the ball, the way we run off the ball in the run game, his thoughts on how we can continue to strive to be the best pass protection team that we can, understanding how we've been played against from a standpoint of a lot more four-man rush and games and picks and things that make it so that you've got to really identify the areas to spend your most time on task to, really justify and match up with how you're defended. We have players like Justin, like Jordan, we have, TJ, we have players that warrant a conversation for our opponents when they're putting together game plans that require coverage and principles of coverage to be a big part of that. So the way to maximize pressure against us historically over 4 years has really been to, send four guys forward in the most dynamic way possible and try to make it really hard on those five guys up front. So what are we doing schematically? What are we doing from a play calling standpoint? What are we doing from how we identify certain things to try to make it as clear, concise, and make it about technique and fundamentals. And that's where Keith had such a clear vision of what that looked like. And just consulting with some of our players, whether it was Brian or CD, Donovan, any of those guys, it became pretty crystal clear that he was the right guy. And then also to be able to get a guy like Frank Smith, part of the think tank, part of the offensive staff, in that assistant head coach role that can bring 4 years of his most recent experience helping coordinate Mike's offense in Miami. But even beyond that, having been in the O-line room, having coached tight ends, he's a very, very, experienced coach that's brought a ton to kind of the high-level thinking of our offensive staff. It's been awesome.
How does the think tank work because, at the end of the day, there has to be a decision made on things, Kevin.
Yep.
Like how much has this potentially altered how you're going to approach things offensively?
Yeah.
And at what point is too much input probably not a great thing?
No, it's a great question because at the end of the day, you've got to the game moves fast and you got to really lean into all the work that's been done up until those moments, but there's still a game going on. There's still adjustments happening. Each individual play call, each circumstance, down and distance, where you are on the field, all those things apply, especially in the head coach role, where you're trying to manage the team to win the football game. And sometimes you call plays, with a mindset of how well your defense is playing or how well your special teams unit is doing, stealing yards in the kicking game. But I do think, Judd, I do think that the time that we've spent as a staff really evaluating not only this past year, there were some outliers with this past year, but there are some things when you look at, 3-4 years of inventory now, there's some things that I know me personally, I've got to look at and really take as tangible information to help me be what I want to be, which is the best version of myself, not only as the head coach, but as the play caller. Every year's different. You're going to stay true to some foundational things, but how you get there, the creativity you get there with, the principles that you get there with can look a lot different. And I think that's ultimately on me. And I've really challenged the staff to, have some conversations about really detailed, specific ways that we can get better in different phases of our offense. And then also understand, you look back on a lot of it and, there's a lot of sayings you can, attach to it in regard to where close ends up getting you. But we've been close on some things that dynamically could change some things. But what are we doing as coaches to make sure, we are providing the most clarity? This is exactly where we want aiming points, landmarks, techniques, first steps, hat placement, because that's what this time is this offseason program. I told the team this morning, we have a foundation built culturally, football-wise, but this 9 weeks is about raising that foundation to a higher level, because then you can start having a conversation about your ceiling as a football team when training camp comes around and what you inevitably have to, in a short amount of time, prepare your team to become. But for right now, it's about that foundation, details, little things where we don't have an opponent to put stress on us from a standpoint of a scoreboard or a gotta-have-it situation. We've got ourselves, and we've got to maximize every single day and make sure when our players leave here, especially in a voluntary program where you're really, asking a lot out of many of these guys to be here away from their families and things like that. You got to make it worthwhile. You got to give them every tool, every resource, every ounce of coaching we have, and also give them the runway to grow every single day as players.
We asked you a couple weeks ago about Jonathan Greenard.
Yep.
Anything changed since then?
No, I had a conversation with him last week. We're trying to keep our conversations and dialogue going. I have such a good relationship with Jonathan. He's been so impactful on me personally, one of our leaders. He knows exactly how I feel about him, how we feel about him as an organization, and I'll continue to have that dialogue and ongoing dialogue, and as we move forward. But it's been good, and I think I think Jonathan's really respected at least the point of view that our dialogue brings and the clarity, and he knows that I'm always a phone call away.
And I know this is a voluntary thing, but do you expect him to be part of this phase one part?
I can't speak for the days moving forward. He was not here today, But yeah, it's a voluntary camp. We've had historically really great participation, and I understand, the things that come up from a business standpoint, and I think a lot of people understand that, and we'll just keep working through it.
Kevin, just when it comes to Jordan Addison picking up his fifth-year option,
Yep.
Where do you think he is at, and why do you want to pick up the fifth-year option?
Yeah, I think, from a talent standpoint and his impact, it was really felt immediately when Jordan first arrived here, and what he's brought to our offense and his ability to really dynamically complement Justin. And I view Jordan as one of the top tier, quote unquote, if you want to call him, number twos in the league. And that is not in any way, shape, or form negative when you're talking about that other guy being Justin Jefferson. But the other part of it with Jordan is, just our relationship and where it's gotten to. And we've spent a lot of time together talking about his personal growth. He was an incredibly young player when he got into the NFL, and he's learned some lessons over the years. And I think he understands it's a critical time in his career. His ability to have an impact doing what he loves, which is playing football, loves playing football as much as anybody we have in this organization. But we need to make sure that he understands, where he's at now and the growth and all those things and what that equals. And I think he does, and I'm excited to get going with him this year.
Kevin, as you're getting to the end of this draft process, or at least the prep process, Rob, and
Yeah.
kind of the point of that, what has this been like working with him, and just how has his influence on this kind of taken shape over the whole draft process?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost with Rob, I joke with him all the time. Like, he has been so impactful on me over my time here from really day one, and even before that part of the interview process. And my relationship with him is so strong. He's such a good person. He's had the ability over these few weeks and couple months here to really, show some high quality leadership traits, bringing people together, personnel, coaches, scouts, everybody coming together to have really good dialogue and really good, back and forth. To, in many ways, there's a lot of agreement on players, and when there's not, we find good outcomes, we find good solutions, and that's all credited to not only our people. We've got great people here, but the leadership Rob has shown throughout this process, and it's been really fun, to support him throughout that and really dive into this year's draft class and even beyond that, free agency. But I know we're all really excited for this week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Good to see everybody.
All right, there we go. Head coach Kevin O'Connell again from TCO Performance Center in Eagan as they get into the first day of their off-season program for the Vikings, a multi-month voluntary program as they get things kicked off. And again, a few days ahead now of the NFL draft. And we're expecting to